I love playing bards. They are a lot of fun for me and are a break from my own shy and introverted personality. I decided in one 5th edition game to play a satyr bard. I was going to play her as a happy-go-lucky, nothing is ever bad or wrong with the world, a bit of a drunk. I joined the game a few sessions in, and the DM decided that the best way to introduce my character was to have the party come across her in a field. Sure, makes sense. So I describe her playing her lute and dancing around the flowers and laughing, and the DM interrupts to add that she's naked. What? I clarified that she doesn't have armor, but she does have basic traveling clothes, if a bit more brightly colored than average. He shakes his head and tells me, no, she's a satyr, which means she's naked and has sex all the time. In fact, she'll have disadvantage on all rolls if she doesn't have sex at least twice a day. This wasn't discussed with me when I told him about my character. So, of course, another player instantly told me that he would take one for the team and sleep with my character. I didn't even get a chance to respond before the DM pointed out that all of these character interactions must be role-played during voice sessions. And that is when I just noped right out. Yeah, good idea. I have a bad feeling that this sleazy pair of DM and player, they're aligned. They planned this out. I mean, I don't know if I'm getting a little conspiratorial here, but I'm starting to lose hope in all humanity. So can you really blame me? Can you really? I've been part of a D&D group for a while together with one of my best friends, his girlfriend that he lives together with, and 2 of their friends that they have known since high school. One of the friends, let's call him DM, introduced Dungeons and Dragons to the group. My friend invited me over and I love the game. I have known this friend, let's just call him friend, and his girlfriend for a long time. I haven't known the DM and the other guy that long, but by now we've been playing D&D for a couple years together. So after the first game, I invited my wife as well. The group was a little uncertain about this at first, but sessions went by and everyone had a good time. After about 2 years of playing D&D, my wife and I started having kids. This put a hold on our D&D sessions, but they were on hold anyway at the time because of the pandemic. When the restrictions were gone, it was hard for us to have sessions because if we didn't play at our place, we would need a babysitter. Unfortunately, we don't have a good support system, so it's hard to get someone to babysit, and we also don't really have the money to pay a babysitter, so we could just play a game with some friends. My sister would sometimes be available, so we had a temporary solution. After a while, there was some drama because we would sometimes be a bit late for sessions because it wasn't always easy to get the baby to bed in time and still make it in time for the session. But they also didn't want to play at our place because it was too small. Then my wife became pregnant with our second child, and it became too difficult for her to keep joining. So now the second baby is born, and I still go to the sessions. We play every 3 weeks. My wife really misses playing D&D and also having some social interactions besides the family. She moved away from her country to live here with me, so now she wants to join again. By now, my sister is not really available to babysit anymore, so we would have to play at our place if my wife wants to rejoin. When we presented this idea, we were met with quite a bit of resistance, even though the size of the apartment is not an issue anymore because we moved to a bigger one. We said that we would only have her rejoin when the new baby is able to sleep at a normal nighttime and stay asleep. The oldest one has been doing that for some time now. Still, the baby's been brought up as an issue for them. They also like the atmosphere of my friend's place more. The DM and the other guy are both on the spectrum and have some difficulty adjusting to changes outside their comfort zone. I felt like they were excluding my wife by not making the small sacrifice of playing something else. Girlfriend also mentioned how she found it low that we were trying to guilt trip them into playing at our place. Now I'm considering leaving the group. Am I the asshole for staying by my wife and leaving the group if they don't want to play at our place? Man, this one does not have a clear binary answer, so stick with me. Give me a sec, I'll explain. Drumroll, please. Not the asshole! No one's the asshole, honestly. Look, I have no idea what specific words were exchanged during those interactions you had with the group, and those specific words may change my verdict here, but I don't think anyone's being the asshole. You're definitely not the asshole for wanting to stick by your kid and your wife. Look, you're a new parent, and that means you're gonna need to give up on some of your hobbies. But at the same time, the group are also not bad guys for wanting to play in an environment that is comfortable for them. Look, babies are loud and noisy, and that is not exactly a great thing for a Dungeons and Dragons game. I don't think it's unreasonable for them to want to play somewhere without a newborn child. I completely understand the desire to want to hang out with others, especially when you're a new parent, but unfortunately, that kind of thing comes with a lot of responsibility. Doesn't mean you need to give up on your life entirely forever, but for a bit, you might need to step away from Dungeons & Dragons, and that's okay. It doesn't mean you're done forever. I mean, you could always play with another group, or you could come back to this group. It's not the end. It could just be a break. I played D&D 5th edition with my brother and a few friends, and the campaign we were in was coming to an end. We all wanted to jump into a new campaign right away, but our DM said that he was exhausted and didn't want to DM again so soon. So my brother volunteered to DM so that our DM could finally rest and have fun being a player. It was my brother's first campaign that he was going to run, so I was really excited to see how it was going to go. It was all I could talk about for the next 2 weeks. The guy that I was dating at the time, who we'll call Barbarian, heard my stories from the previous campaign and asked if he could join in the new campaign. I asked my group if it was okay if he joined, and they said that they would be more than happy to have him. My brother told us that we would all be a part of a group of dimension-hopping mercenaries, taking missions from an ever-changing job board. He said that there would be no guarantees that the same jobs would be posted when we came back, so choose our jobs wisely. I made a cute and chaotic bard with a love for bad puns, and he made a barbarian. Barbarian was a big fan of Thor and tried to give him as many of Thor's abilities as possible. Superheroes aren't really my thing, so I don't know if he was successful, but my brother tried his best to help him build a character that he could have fun with. The only thing that my brother outright said he was not giving to Barbarian was a magic hammer that would return to him after he threw it. My brother said that because the hammer would be way too powerful in the hands of such a low-level party, and that would be unfair to the rest of the group who wouldn't get such a powerful magical weapon at the start of the game. Barbarian was extremely bothered by this, and wouldn't let it go even after we started the game. The only way my brother could get him to drop it was by saying, "Maybe you might find one after you guys level up more." Only Barbarian still didn't let it go. Every time our party did anything, he was asking, "So, can we level up now?" And I mean anything, from defeating enemies to just plain shopping for better items. It was a constant drone of, "Can we level up yet? Like, can we level up now?" And the times we did level up, he would say, "Am I high enough to get my hammer yet?" It was really annoying, but other than that, he really wasn't that bad of a player. After a while of playing, we noticed that one of the jobs wasn't leaving the job board like the rest usually did. Someone was willing to pay big money for a group of adventurers to travel to a place called White Plume Mountain and retrieve some magical items there. None of us, except for our former DM, knew what White Plume Mountain was, so he begged us not to go and to just pick a different job. Naturally, this just made us all the more curious than we already were, so we ended up taking the job. Even though my brother heavily modified White Plume Mountain to not instantly kill us by thinking too loud in its direction, it was still one of the hardest and most fun things I've ever done. All I can say is, please be better than our group and listen to our former DM, and if anyone ever thinks it might be a good idea to White Plume Mountain, don't! Now, onto the actual horrifying part. Our party had a crazy difficult combat encounter. We only survived because the dice were on our side. And we came across our first magical artifact, a sentient warhammer named Whelm. Barbarian was insanely happy to finally have his cool magic hammer and complete his Thor character. He was able to attune to it and test it out in the space, and he was absolutely loving it. When he saw that it was sentient, he tried talking to it, and my brother saw his opportunity. After being so annoyed at Barbarian constantly asking, "Can I level up now? Can I level up yet?" he decided to give Whelm the most annoying voice he could think of. It sounded like a mix of Kermit the Frog and Mickey Mouse. The next interaction went like this. "Does it always sound like that?" "Yep, all the time." "Does it ever shut up?" "Not really. It speaks in your head in that annoying voice, all the time. Forever." "Gross. I'm just gonna throw this thing away." You try to throw it away, but when you do, it comes back. Yeah, Barbarian was going to throw away one of the most powerful legendary weapons in the game, the weapon that was way better than he could have hoped for, the weapon that he was begging for the entire game just because my brother made its voice a little annoying. My brother and Barbarian kept arguing, and things started to get a little tense, so I tried to lighten up the mood a little with some in-character jokes. So I had my character walk up to the Barbarian, put an arm around his shoulder, and say, "Seems like this hammer thing's got you pretty overwhelmed, huh?" As I mentioned, my bard loved puns, so it wasn't the first time I made a joke like this. But for some reason, my little crappy pun sent Barbarian over the edge. He snapped, started yelling, and told my brother he was going to start attacking me. I and the rest of the group were all stunned into silence. My brother quietly asked, are you sure you want to do that? I mean, man, it was just a joke. And Barbarian took that as permission to roll his attack. Raged out Barbarian with super powerful legendary weapon versus my surprised squishy bard with a dagger and an arsenal of debuff/buff spells. Yeah, I wonder who won. My poor bard was down to 0 hit points before his turn was over, so she couldn't even process that she was being attacked. The Barbarian did not stop after that, and said that he'd keep attacking me until my character was permanently dead. And that's when the rest of the group finally snapped out of it and came to help me. Cleric stabilized me and was able to heal me, while the rest of the characters physically restrained Barbarian from doing further damage. My brother ended the session there, and I had a long talk with Barbarian afterwards as to why it wasn't okay, and to, never do that again. It ended up turning into a full-blown fight, and our relationship didn't last for very much longer after that. Oh, right, yeah, I forgot they were together. He tried to appeal to the other players in the group to let him keep on playing, but he wasn't welcome back after that. We finished the campaign quickly after that, and my brother has grown into a fantastic DM. His worlds are rich and colorful, his stories are emotional and magnificent, and he's gotten way better at ending player conflict and PvP before it starts. We've been playing together for years, and it's awesome to share this amazing game with great people. I think that's awesome too, friend. Obviously, the brother made some mistakes here. If you have a problem, you need to take it out of game. You can't handle it in-game, because when you do, it can lead to some problems that just are not worth it. If you find the Barbarian's insistent asking for level ups to be annoying, then you talk to him about it. You don't create an annoying hammer just to tick him off, because when you tick someone off, they're going to blow up. Now, of course, on the other side of that coin, the Barbarian initiated this whole situation by being annoying in the first place, and then the explosion at the very end with him freaking out, killing his significant other's character, and generally having a whole rage moment. Yeah, that's not okay, and clearly the guy was unapologetic about it afterwards. Whereas on the other side, the DM, the person who maybe didn't handle the situation the best, the DM improved, learned, and figured out how to handle in-game situations in a mature way. Look, we all make mistakes. The hallmark of a good person is learning from those mistakes and getting better. The DM got better, the Barbarian, well, didn't, unfortunately. I used to be really big into role-playing during my late teens and well into my early 20s. I ran a few successful forums, one of which was similar to Once Upon a Time, before the show was even a thing, where characters from Disney, Marvel, and other popular media were transported to the real world and had no recollection of who or what they were. The really highbrow original type stuff. The characters in the story are myself, Lady, because she played the human personification of Lady from Lady and the Tramp, and Sally from Nightmare Before Christmas. The site actually became so popular that I ended up having to look for another moderator to help me go through character applications for approval and move things around, which is why I decided to give mod permissions to Lady, as she expressed an interest in helping out and had experience of running her own sites. At first, Lady was great and helped out a lot, which gave me the time to actually roleplay rather than spending hours moderating, and we even had a few threads together. Over about a month or so into her becoming a moderator, however, I noticed the activity on the site went from very busy to a near standstill. It happens. Roleplaying on J-Kink typically doesn't last very long no matter how popular a site is. People eventually lose interest in their characters, their plots, or life gets in the way, so I figured it was just that. As I'm about to cut my losses and just accept that people are no longer interested, however, I got a private message from Sally, who used to be a very active member, informing me that the reason she was no longer comfortable posting on the site anymore was because she felt like Lady was being too overbearing. Apparently, Lady took it upon herself to privately message members she felt were slacking, including Sally and her friends, informing them that if they had time to invest in character games on the forums or log in every day to talk to our chat box, then they had time to reply to threads. According to Sally, this sucked all the fun out of roleplay, and yeah, I agreed. Roleplaying should be a fun, relaxing thing, and not a job where you have to clock in a certain amount of hours. I thank Sally for telling me what Lady was up to, and if she was willing, I would set up a different site, send everyone the new link, and just not tell Lady about it, as I was having difficulties with her due to some other behind-the-scenes drama that she was causing with other members. So this was sort of the final straw anyway. I was also a very non-confrontational person back then and didn't want to hurt Lady's feelings and figured she would just think the site was dying like I did, and that would be that. Long story short, Lady somehow figured out what I had told Sally in private and decided to go ballistic. Next thing I know, my site is looking all wonky because Lady used her moderator powers to delete some coding to the forum's skin, which made the website look pretty, and messaged me to brag about destroying my forums and how I should feel terrible for trying to exclude her. I grew this shiny new spine that day and basically told her something along the lines of F off, I don't owe you anything, and warned her never to touch anything on my site again shortly after banning and blocking her access to everything. I don't know what I would have done if she did indeed crawl back like the deceitful cockroach that she was. This was over the internet, after all, so my warning was basically, null and void. But the adrenaline was pumping from the new spine and the sheer annoyance from losing hours of headache-induced coding, so I just wanted to sound like a badass. Thankfully, the block worked and I never heard from her again. From there, I did a complete website overhaul, had to get new code for a new skin that Sally helped me with, and I ended up making her a new moderator while learning from my previous mistake and backing up the entire forum's code onto a separate site, a site that only I knew about, to prevent this from happening again in the future. After banning Lady, activity eventually returned to the site, and I learned from another member about how Lady had been spying on everyone's private messages, which is apparently a moderator feature she had turned on without telling me, and that's how she got hold of my messages. I promptly located that feature and disabled it because I felt like it was a huge breach of everyone's privacy. Anyway, that was my super, not really that dramatic story of what happened when I hired the wrong person as a moderator. And if you're out there, Lady, I hope you've grown up some. Stop spying on people. It's rude. We've got spying in this one. We've got stalking in the next one. What's up with people and taking these games way too far? I think those are all stories that give an example of how, at the end of the day, these games are social situations. You are playing with other people, and therefore some of those people are going to really suck. I think that's what RPG Horror Stories really is in general. Sometimes you just gotta cut out a person who is being a real pain to your group, and someone spying on messages like this, it's a serious problem. I don't have a lot of experience with forum roleplay, though if I were a website owner, I would be very careful of who I give power over website features, and I'd make sure to check what features they have access to. I think that's the main lesson here. If you're trying to run a roleplay forum and you have a new moderator, make sure you know all of their abilities, because spying on people's chats really shouldn't be one of them. This is a story about a very large man. It's not actually about his weight, so much as it is about how, despite everything that happened, he made it about his weight when he was kicked from my game. But hey, it made for a title at least. The group, no real names, obviously. Me, the oh-so-lovable DM. My ex, the halfling ranger. Rumi, a human sorcerer wild mage. The bride, one half of a couple, half-elven bard. The groom, the other half of the couple, half-elf rogue. Shygol, the wood-elven warlock. And Oscar.
It's Ford.
Sorry, I mean Thor.
The half-orc blood hunter. This is a story that took place back when Critical Role was wrapping up its first campaign. I hadn't played Dungeons & Dragons in years, but came across their videos, and it got me interested in playing again. I started reading up on 5th edition and picked up the original Tal'Dorei campaign guide setting. I want to run a game on that world that took place some number of years after the show's first campaign. I advertised for players in a local Facebook group with info on the rules, setting, and campaign premise. I have 6 players in a couple of hours. Now, I live in a mobile home that I own. At the time, I had a roommate renting my spare room who is joining in. He's a bit of a germaphobe. I also have a loving cat named Delphi. This is important for later. I've set up a gaming room. It's a bit cramped, but large enough to seat us all around the table, big enough for my minis and maps. We have a group chat where we take care of the usual Session 0 things and get all the character backstory set up. Everyone is excited for the game. Oscar misses Session 1 due to work, but the game goes great. The party is throwing their lots together in an attempt to take up adventuring as many groups have tried, and mostly failed, to do so in the wake of the legendary Vox Machina. They take up the job to investigate some illegal drug trading going on. After roleplay and checking up on leads, they head out into the swamp to check out a proposed hideout and fend off some giant frogs on the way there. Nothing too harrowing. Week 2. Oscar arrives. He comes early as requested, so I could catch him up. What pulls up to my house is an unmarked white van. It is full of trash to the top of the windows. The dashboard is covered. There's a cube of space carved out for the driver of this vehicle. It's so packed in that when he exits, none of it even budges. Despite my belief, it would all tumble out into my yard for sure. The man who steps out stands around 6 feet tall and is easily over 500 pounds. I immediately become a little worried. You see, my house, like many mobile homes, is narrowly designed. Doorways and hallways, they're skinny. It doesn't seem to bother him, though. He maneuvers sideways through my door and the main hall, so it worked out. This is not the reason he was removed. The next problem becomes readily apparent. I can smell him. It's like rotten food or straight up fresh dog crap, and it is powerful. It's powerful. It's the middle of the summer, too, and my house gets warm. I have fans set up in the game room because of this. However, they also blow this smell around as well. This is also not why he was removed. He cannot fit into my chairs comfortably, so he declares he will simply sit on my floor if it starts to hurt too much, which is, fine, whatever works. After the session, the smell on that chair was so bad. We had to wash them several times and use multiple kinds of deodorizers. Rumi was losing his mind over how disgusting it was. He could smell it in his room from the game room even after Oscar left. This is not why he was removed either. The other players arrive. I can tell they all smell it, and they all know why it smelled. I had adjusted the fans while he was still in the restroom to blow in such a way that it would, downwind. Scheigel seems especially uncomfortable this session, despite being my best roleplayer at the table. The party joins up with Oscar on the road, having been sent by the Groom's Thieves Guild contacts as backup when they learned just who he was going after. Oscar immediately begins to be incredibly rude and disrespectful to the others. Guess you're not enough for this, huh? Look like... Though some of you are good to look at. This is directed at our women players. They are not pleased. So, what do we need you for? Well, I did ask for backup, I guess. So his character is an asshole. Not all characters are good people. I've played many assholes myself. It's fun to have them get their comeuppance eventually, too. The party goes along with it, all the while grimacing a bit at the repeated off-color jokes he was making. Eventually, they arrive at the hideout, taking down a patrol, silently. They attempt to sneak up on the cabin. Oscar crit fails. I have players moving on the map to show how they are creeping up. He was trying to do so right along the front lawn, just creeping through the grass. They were spotted. All of the enemies alerted, raising alarms to their boss making the trades inside. The dealers. What the hell are you doing? Hold it right there! Rumi. Yeah, we're gonna die. Scheigel. Are the rest of us still hidden? Oscar. Ha! Come on, guys! He cries, alerting the enemies that there is more of them. Let's Apparently, he meant that literally, as you will see. Do I have to, though? Initiative is rolled. The party enters into the fight of their lives. This was meant to be 2 or 3 smaller encounters that have bled together now. The party lacks a dedicated healer, so if things go south, Delphi, my cat, comes into the room. Now, I have a rule about my cat. You do not play rough with her. Do not encourage her to bite or claw. I've had experiences with cats who were taught that playtime was meant to be aggressive, and then upset people by biting or scratching them too hard. I make the same request of Oscar when Delphi jumps into his lap. He proceeds to roughly mash her down to the floor, ruffling her fur like a dog and teasing her after rolling her onto her back. She's squalling that she does not like this, and he tries to make her play by his hand. Yo, leave my cat alone. Oh, gee, sorry, I was just playing. I already told you, we don't play with her like that. Oh, look, this was also not the reason he was removed, though it really should have been. Oscar eats a critical from the drug dealer boss that should have killed him, but he stays alive with the half-orc resilience ability. I later learned that this ability doesn't trigger if the attack was enough to kill someone outright, and it was, but I would have let it slide anyway. It's a low-level thing and massively unlucky. The party rallies. Rumi's wild magic sorcery actually goes off in a beneficial manner, and the tides are turned. They win. Bride. Healing word on Scheigel to get her up. My ex. I'll secure the cabin. Make sure no more surprises are waiting for us. Groom. Backing up the ranger in the cabin. Rumi. Gonna take a few minutes to lose it over all the dead people and still being alive. Oscar. I rip off the leader's pants, flip him over, and oh my goodness. No. You what? I said I rip off the leader's... No, I heard you, dude, but no. Just no. Oscar proceeds to pout. The party members in the cabin uncover the stash and some other loot. Suddenly, Oscar just declared himself to be in the cabin, and he steals the money right out of my ex's hands. I'm about to say something when she promptly reminds him he has 1 hit point left and knocks him right out. End of session. So, he tried to do the thing with a corpse. Hardcore content like that was not allowed, as per Session 0. He tried to steal from the party after metagame teleporting to the loot as soon as his name was heard, and still, these are not the reasons he was removed. After the session, everyone thanked me for a good evening and headed out. I had noticed Shy Girl being off all night, so I messaged her after the game. This is when she drops the bomb. Oscar and I have played before. We met at a random game store event. He kept on being really sexually aggressive with me, and even after I told him no, he follows me to other games and then tries to get in contact with me. Well, then he's out. Screw that guy. And that's why he was removed. Turned out, as I found out later, he had a habit of doing this to women at tables he was at. Quite the reputation in the community at large. Now, I'm not one for confrontation myself, and I'm definitely not going to make a player feel even more unsafe by saying she requested he be removed, so I decided to, let him down easy. After last night's session, I really don't think things are going to work out the way I would like. I don't think your style is going to be a good fit for our group. I hope you have a good luck in finding another game, and if you need, I can keep you posted if another Tal'Dorei setting becomes available from other DMs.
Oh, so you just hate fat people. Not a fit. Real subtle. Yeah, your campaign was trash. I had to make it interesting, just to bother to be invested. I don't need help from someone who doesn't accept people. Fuck you.
He then proceeds to block me on everything. I informed the group he was removed, without elaborating as to why specifically. No one seemed to mind. Sadly, the game did fall apart about a month and a half later. Work schedules and medical issues for players made it hard to keep meeting. Shago went on to start running her own games with safe spaces for women strictly enforced. Oh, by the way, I am also overweight. And hey, there's nothing wrong with that. Our problem player here is a problem, to say the least. There is a ton of stuff. First and foremost, first impressions, they matter, guys. They matter a lot. Do your best to at least be courteous when you're entering into someone else's home. I feel like this goes beyond Dungeons & Dragons, but if someone tells you not to mess around with their cat, don't do it. If you're going to a social gathering, put on some deodorant. Basic stuff like that. I don't think I need to explain this, but given that we've read tons of these stories, I feel like I need to explain this. I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. All of those problems pale in comparison to the whole stalking thing this guy has going on. Pop culture has done a lot of harm in this case. Stalking is seen as romance so often, and often in those stories, it works out for the stalker, for the guy. And that sets a really bad example. Look, people, I'm not an expert on romance by any means, but stalking is not the way to go about it. On top of being insanely creepy, it is also a crime. You can't stalk people. It's not legal, so don't do it. For their sake, and for your own. But hey guys, on the bright side, we finally know what the tale of Oscar, Matt Mercer's Tusk Love, was truly about. I mean, it wasn't quite what I was expecting, but, still. Fuck! Yeah, sorry, Jester. And that's going to be it for today's episode of RPG Horror Stories. If you guys enjoyed, then please do leave a like. If you guys want to see more of my content, then you can check out our Q&Play series where I answer your questions in a rambling, unscripted format while playing some video games. It's linked in the cards. And while you're there, subscribe to Crispy's Tavern to get more of our content as it comes out. And finally, if you want to leave your own stories or thoughts, go down in the comments down below. If you can't think of a comment, leave the comment, "You were a stalker, dude," to let me know you made it to the end of the video. Oh, and if you want to send your own stories, there is an email in the description. Send them that way to get a chance to be featured in one of these videos. But even if you don't have any stories, in essence, like, comment, subscribe. I will see you all next time. Farewell.